Good evening and welcome to the 2023 Tualatin State of the City. We're very excited to be holding this again in person. It's first time since 2019. COVID, we did 2 years ago we did via tape, and last year we didn't do one. So City Council is super excited to be here in person tonight and let you know the things that have occurred in the last 2 years related to our City Council priorities. Tonight's agenda will be, we're going to have a short video that highlights some of the things that we've been able to accomplish in the last 2 years. And then each city councilor will come up and we're going to interview them specifically on a certain topic that was one of our priorities. It's going to be talk show style, informal, rather than me sitting up here on a podium making a speech where we get pretty much bored. We're going to try to keep it engaging, keep it entertaining, and so that everybody has a lot of fun. We'll have Q&A at the end. There are Q&A cards that are in the room, and you can hand them to Betsy if you have a question. Is Betsy in here?
She might be outside.
She might be outside. But look for a city staffer. Betsy will be running around taking cards for questions. So if you want to give a question, we prefer it's written. It doesn't have to be, but we'll do that at the end. Before we start, I'm going to indulge myself for a minute in that I'm starting to get fond of bad dad jokes. And, for some reason they're in the rage right now, and they're even called bad grandpa jokes right now. So I heard one the other day that I'm going to pass on to you just to liven it up a little bit. That a snail goes to a car lot and talks to a salesperson and says, I want the fastest, most expensive sports car you have on this lot. And the salesperson like, okay. And he goes, and also, I want you to paint a big red S on each side of the car. The car dealer goes, why in the world would you want that? Because when I drive by, I want the people to see, look at that S car go. There you go. With that, we'll start the formal part of the evening. First thing I want to do is acknowledge some of the fellow electeds who are in the room. First off, Washington County Chair Catherine Harrington. Where you hide. Our commissioners here for Washington County, Roy Rogers. Former City Councilor Robert Kellogg. And I also want to point out a special guest of mine, Emmy Johnson. Emmy Johnson, back years ago, started to be my pen pal. And this is one of the first cards she sent. I've saved them. And it's, telling me about her picture. We've had like 2 or 3 letters and then emails and phone calls. So I very much appreciate that Emmy's here tonight. All right. So with that, I want to bring on Anneleah Jaxen. The Tualatin Chamber of Commerce is co-sponsoring, co-hosting tonight's event. So I want to get a couple minutes for Anneleah to tell people a little bit about the Chamber here in Tualatin and how it works with the City of Tualatin. Welcome, Anneleah.
Thank you. Well, I just passed my 1-year anniversary as the CEO of the Tualatin Chamber. I was brought on after many different transitions that the Chamber went through that were very, very hard on this Chamber. It had lost members. It had really struggled through COVID. Thank you. They're giving gifts tonight, too. Anyway, everything about the Chamber, it was a beautiful Chamber. It was full of wonderful people. We especially had a committee of ambassadors that kept the networking going, and that's what saved this Chamber, was that networking that kept going with the ambassadors. When I came in, I started to look at what needed to be helped, and it was soup to nuts. It was a new website, a new brochure. We did a professional survey, and we asked all of our businesses, what happened to you? Are you doing all right? What do you need? They let us know that they wanted more government advocacy, and they needed help with workforce development. So we got busy, and we created new committees that are dedicated to just aligning with that survey and bringing educational opportunities for our businesses. Right after that, we started asking what's going on with tolling, and everybody in the city told me that there was no such thing as tolling in Oregon. So we asked Commissioner Roy Rogers and Commissioner Paul Savas to come to a breakfast And they enlightened us about how much tolling was going to happen in Oregon, which is every single freeway in the state, starting with 205 in 2024, and finally after that, shortly after that, I-5. So we created a website called Oregon Tolling Updates, and I'll talk more about that later in the economic development part. But we're very, very busy tracking the different House bills and Senate bills on behalf of our businesses. We're serious about supporting you, about defending and protecting you, about standing up and speaking up when something might hurt one of our businesses. Specifically, McAdam Forbes came to us not too long ago to ask us to work with the council and the planning commission and look at different codes. Hey, Stu. And so we started to do presentations with the Business Advocacy Council to help everybody understand what the codes were, what was needed, what was wanted. We want to be advocates for our businesses.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. One thing I neglected to do was introduce my City Council President, Valerie Pratt. She will help me co-host tonight so I didn't have to memorize everything. We're going to split it 50-50, and hopefully we're going to do a terrific job tonight. We'll see. All right. With that, thank you, Anneleah.
You're welcome.
Valerie and I will step off the stage. We have a short video that's going to highlight some of our achievements over the last 2 years, again, related to our priorities. And after that, we'll come back up and we'll start chatting. Welcome to Good Evening Tualatin, the City of Tualatin's 2023 State of the City Address. Join us as we review the progress towards the City Council's 2021-2022 7 priorities.
Housing costs in the region are high, and about 37% of Tualatin's households are cost burdened, with people paying more than 30% of their income on housing. The City Council is committed to doing their part to address housing affordability, and in 2021 approved Tualatin's first ever permanent affordable housing development called Planbeck Gardens. Transportation routinely scores as Tualatin's highest priority, and the city is tackling it on multiple fronts. In 2018, voters approved a $20 million transportation bond called Tualatin Moving Forward. Now in year 5 of the program, 24 projects are built, with 12 more slotted for construction this year. And regionally, staff and the City Council monitor ongoing progress on things like tolling, the Regional Transportation Plan, and policy changes coming down from the state. Part of the City Council's 2030 vision is to be an inclusive community that promotes equity, diversity, and access in creating a meaningful quality of life for everyone. About 20% of Tualatin's population speaks a language other than English, with the majority speaking Spanish. Spanish language content is available on our Somos Tualatin Facebook group and Tualatino's e-listserv. Our library also stocks content in other languages, including many materials in Spanish. With the beautiful Tualatin River forming the northern border of the city, it is no wonder the community cares deeply about protecting our environment. The city is committed to taking climate action and over the last year has conducted extensive research and engagement to put together the first ever climate action plan. While the plan is being developed, we are already taking steps to be a more sustainable and climate-friendly community. Tualatin is proud to be a bee city and a 36 years and counting tree city. One of the primary responsibilities of a city is to care for the community's assets, like streets, water pipes, stormwater facilities, and parks. Our team conducts regular maintenance to extend the lifetime of our assets, but sometimes it is time for an upgrade or replacement. Last year, the community passed a $25 million Parks and Trails bond, and work has already begun to replace an old water main pipe that runs under Boone's Ferry Road from Ibach Street to the water tanks south of Norwood Road. The city's financial position remains strong coming out of the pandemic, and businesses continue to locate and invest in Tualatin. With the support of the community and local taxing districts, the city has created 2 urban renewal areas to securely position Tualatin for long-term economic prosperity. The last few years have tested our resilience and our preparedness efforts for a variety of emergencies, whether they be extreme heat, snow and ice, or a global pandemic. Our police department added a mental health professional to our team to support community members in crisis. As you saw, it has been a busy 2 years, and we aren't slowing down yet. Thanks for joining us for Good Evening Tualatin, this year's State of the City Address.
The background music was very low, but anyone know what that was? It was the Tualatin Overture. Yep. So Arthur Brewer, who's a member of the chamber, wrote an overture for Tualatin and has donated to the city for our use. So he reminded me of that fact and asked, hey, why don't you put it in your background music? I said, that's a terrific idea. So Megan made it happen. So thank you, Megan, for putting that in there. All right. So speaking of our priorities, so every 2 years, the city council gets together on what Sherilyn calls an advance, other people call a retreat. And we get together for 2 days with city staff, and we decide as a group what our priorities will be for the next 2 years. Each councilor brings in their list of items that they think is important because of what they've heard from the residents in the community. Over those 2 days, we distill our top 7 and the things that we think we can achieve in those 2 years. We always have lots of great ideas, lots of programs, and what we always have to keep in mind is we only have a certain size staff with so many hours in a day and so many dollars to spend every year. And one of the things we're proud of is how Sherilyn with the city staff gets many of these things done and gets them done on time and on budget, which we're all very appreciative of. So with that, I'm going to have the City Council President Pratt. I'm just going to call it Valerie, it's easier. Valerie, go ahead and go through our priorities for 2021, 2022.
Well, you see them up there, and we also have placemats, so we're always reminded of them. And they are housing, transportation, diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice, the environment, community assets, economic development, and crisis preparedness. With that, we're going to start with our top of the list on the schedule priority of housing. And I'm going to question Mayor Bubenik here. So, the video we just watched mentioned that Tualatin would be getting its first ever permanent affordable housing development. I know you were involved in this effort. Can you tell us how this happened?
It'd be my pleasure. So, the Community Partners for Affordable Housing is an organization that provides permanently affordable housing to cities throughout the Washington County area. In my neighborhood, many of you know or knew Doug Planbeck. Doug Planbeck was the treasurer of Community Partners for Affordable Housing. He also was a big Democratic precinct person, out knocking on people's doors all the time. When we had neighborhood get-togethers back when I was a counselor, Doug was always asking me, Tualatin needs to have permanently affordable housing. All the cities around us have it, why don't we? I said, Doug, when the time is right and I become mayor, let's make it happen. I became mayor, and by total happenstance, my very first mayor's coffee, I'm sitting there and talking about SEPA and the need for affordable housing, and a gentleman there had property in Basalt Creek, which is down south on Boones Ferry Road near Horizon Christian School, that he would be interested, he told me, in selling to SEPA to build this facility. So he put the two together, and 4 years ago, they made a deal. And SEPA was able to buy the land. So over these 4 years, SEPA has been working with Washington County and Metro to amass the funds needed to build Planbeck Gardens. They've decided to call it Planbeck Gardens because Doug passed away at the beginning of COVID from pancreatic cancer. So this is a tribute to his effort to bring affordable housing to Tualatin. There's going to be 116 units in the facility, many of which are going to be 3-bedroom apartments, which is very rare for affordable housing. They're also going to be available for folks that are at 60% of the average median income for Washington County, which is roughly $64,000 for a family of 4. You can imagine how tough that is to live on a family of 4. They're looking for, there will be a groundbreaking that I'm very excited about on June 16th down at the location. They're going to start advertising it here soon, so I encourage you to attend. And the city has done some really innovative things to make this happen. One is that we've waived property taxes, city property taxes for SEPA, so that saves them some money. And the city of Tualatin was awarded $6 million from ARPA funding from the federal government that was distributed to, throughout the United States. We're allocating $1 million of that money to build the water and sewer that's needed to get to the facility. Because timing is, again, everything, that the housing development that's being built around them, the water and sewer wouldn't be there in time for them to open up. So the city and city council was fully supportive of, hey, let's put $1 million towards this, get it done, and so this facility will be open pretty much before most of the houses have been built in Basalt Creek.
Great. The City Council has spent a lot of time discussing the housing needs and priorities in Tualatin. Can you talk about some of the research and planning that has gone into this?
Sure. The big effort we had that was a joint between city staff and residents was Tualatin 2040. And what this plan was, gathering input from all aspects of the community on what kind of housing we needed and where we're going to go and how we're going to grow. That informed us on our housing needs analysis, which is getting into the nitty-gritty of how many units do we forecast need to be developed, what kind of units, and then looking at what can we possibly bring to the community that's affordable. So it can be, higher density housing, can it be innovative design in housing, can it be enticing more affordable housing to come to the community through different programs. So what's up here I want to show folks is what's called being housing burdened. You can see in Tualatin, we've got a fair amount of our population who spends more than 30% of their income on housing. And the federal government said, basically, you're not supposed to be beyond that. If you're beyond 30% of your income going for housing, you're housing burdened. So between folks who own homes and renters, you can see the percentage of, we have a very high percentage of folks here in town. We all know the housing's cost, has gone skyrocketed here in Tualatin, and rents. So one of the challenges city council has is how can we make housing more affordable? How can we entice developers to build? And how can we be innovative to make these housing units be built? If you can go to the next slide, this is what's scary. Look at these incomes and see what you can buy. And this is a couple years ago, pre-COVID. We all know housing costs have gone up. So this is our challenge in how we solve this for folks who are like 50% or lower of the area median income. Even folks at the 100% income, their housing, we're looking at $500,000 for a house minimum, usually in Tualatin. So this is an incredible stat that we're trying to address with the assistance of Metro and Washington County. All right, so now it's my turn to ask Councilor Pratt some questions, Council President Pratt, based on transportation, our second priority. So question, the video included some startling numbers related to our Tualatin Moving Forward transportation bond. By my count, we will be over 30 projects completed in just 5 years, and this is a 10-year bond. Can you talk more about some of the projects that are going to construction this year?
Sure. I think the biggest project we have is the eastbound lane on Tualatin Sherwood Road that will go from Martinazzi to the on-ramp southbound to I-5, and it will be, that right lane will be dedicated just to southbound traffic. The people that did the studies are telling us that from Boone's Ferry to that on-ramp will save 3 to 5 minutes by just adding this lane. So that's really great for our traffic, helping a little with our traffic problems. Another great project is on Boone's Ferry Road from, I switched them around. Anyway, on Boone's Ferry Road, we're doing a bike and sidewalk improvements and additions from Warm Springs up to Norwood. And that you may have seen some of this already because most of the west side of Boone's Ferry has been completed. That was phase 1, and phase 2 on the other side will be starting soon. This is my neighborhood, and I think it's just a great addition, and it's nice not to trip over tree stumps when you're going for a run. And then the final one is from Pony Ridge on Highway 99 over to 124th. Right now, if you take that path, you're walking on the side of Highway 99, which is very unsafe, and so we're going to have a bike and pedestrian path added, and that lets people get safely over to 124th where we have access to TriMet.
All right, terrific. The Lime e-scooters have certainly been popular. We've seen all the Lime scooters around town. Is that you on a Lime scooter?
Yes, I so appreciate this was included. That was at the Lime Scooters put on, they called it an academy, and it was at Tualatin Community Park where we could all safely try these out in the parking lot. It was very fun, and it was a beautiful day, too. And anyway, we're doing this as a one-year pilot project, and in the next few months, it'll be before council, and we'll decide to make this permanent. What we found so far since March is there have been over 7,000 rides and 8,000 miles put on, which means those are fairly short trips, so we think that might be helping with our last mile commuting, which is great. And the last thing about this I wanted to say is if you want a helmet and be safe, Mom talking here, you can get a helmet right here at the City Services Building.
Right, terrific. The last question I have for you is that dirty three-letter word, tolls.
My favorite.
Or tolls. I should say four-letter word if you say make it tolls.
Yeah.
You and I have been working a lot on tolling lately. Can you give an update to the community about tolling?
Yeah, as you're aware, the council has many concerns about the impacts of tolling that will affect our community. Most specifically of all the issues is the diversion that this I-205 project will cause to our city. And I know we're all concerned, and especially my big concern is that, we're going to have people going down Berlin Road and making it more difficult to get to our hospital. And so several of us on council have been concerned about this, and we've known about it for a few years. And the mayor and I, along with Councilor Gonzalez and Councilor Sacco, have been on multiple committees where we've been in front of ODOT and made it very clear what our concerns are. Most recently, for the I-205 project, ODOT was required to do an environmental analysis study, and we just sent off a week or so ago a 3-page letter voicing our concerns, and not only the impacts to our city, but also our great city staff helped find flaws in the actual study and how they did the analysis. And we also asked that ODOT consider alternative revenue sources for the improvements on I-205. Then lastly, I have to mention, because this was just news today, and I lost my page. Oh, here it is. That we were kind of told behind the scenes that no transportation bills were going to move forward in the current legislative session in Oregon. So we were kind of very disappointed. But today we just found out that House Bill 3614, which it's sponsored by both parties. There's a lot of sponsors on it, including our representative Jules Walters and Courtney Noron. And this would put off tolling till the beginning of 2026, so there's some time to reconsider how tolling should be implemented. It's very exciting. It's introduced, so what that means is the bill hasn't been killed. It'll be moved to a committee, and that hopefully means it'll be put to a vote eventually. But it means it's moving forward. So that's really great news for us. And I want to thank our mayor because he reached out to Senate President Rob Wagner, and he asked him to please help with sponsoring this bill.
All right, terrific.
Okay.
All right, that now brings us to our next priority, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. I'm going to welcome to the stage Councilor Christen Sacco.
Good evening.
Welcome, Christen.
Thank you.
The first question is a tough one. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. My name is Christen Sacco, and I am in my first term as City Councilor, my third year, and I'm really excited to be here tonight for my first in-person State of the City.
Great. Okay, here's the tougher questions.
Okay.
Earlier this month, we adopted the ordinance creating the Tualatin Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Advisory Committee, otherwise known as the IDEA Committee. You were a big part of making this happen. Can you tell us a little bit more about the process?
Absolutely. So over 30 people applied to the Equity Committee Planning Group, and 15 people were appointed. This is our group here in the photo. We met 6 times between June and November of 2022, and I have never met a more passionate, engaged, and determined group of people. The group ended up recommending the creation of the IDEA Committee, which stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access. The IDEA Committee will be tasked with advocating for underserved populations, providing advice to City Council, including recommended goals and methods for measuring our progress, conducting research, including engaging with other community members to identify areas of opportunities, and suggesting ways to empower people to connect with city elected officials, appointed officials, staff, and to make it easier for public participation in our city government. The city will be taking applications for the IDEA Committee soon. We hope a lot of people will apply, and we invite everyone to apply and really look forward to that process.
Great. Can you talk about some of the city's other efforts to be inclusive?
Absolutely. So first, the city recently appointed a Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, Jerry Ann Thompson, and completed an organizational strategic plan. The city weaves equity and inclusion into everything it does, from committees, networking, and volunteer programs. Projects such as the Climate Action Plan, Urban Renewal, and the Parks Master Plan all purposely look for ways to ensure that our community is more inclusive and equitable. Events such as Viva Tualatin, Faith in Blue bring community together and also celebrate cultural differences. We can see photos of Viva Tualatin behind us. There is a current grassroots effort to provide Tualatin with their first ever Pride celebration on June 3rd at 10 a.m., and the city is supporting those efforts. Lastly, the CIOs represent each corner of our community to help lift all voices and provide connection to the city.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you for your input.
Thank you for having me.
Next, we'd like to invite Councilor Brooks up to discuss the environment.
Welcome, Bridget.
Hey guys.
I think most people are familiar with you, but would you like to say anything about yourself?
I'm grateful to be here today. I'm very grateful and honored to serve the city of Tualatin. It's a great city, and I just appreciate everyone coming out. This is my first year of my second term, so thanks to everybody for your support. And even if I didn't get your support, I'm happy to serve you.
So can you tell us what is a climate action plan and why the city of Tualatin is putting one together?
I can tell you what a climate action plan
I bet
is.
you can.
This is our great logo, by the way, and one of our staff loves that the river runs right through the middle of it, just like our community. And part of what we want in action, why of the climate action plan, is because we can see the fires and the smoke that we dealt with. We had like the worst air quality in the country at one point. We can see from storms like the ice storm, atmospheric rivers, and these increased levels of heat days in the summer and the dangers that it poses to people, that there are a lot of impacts of climate change. And what we want to do with the plan is to build resiliency and decrease negative outcomes and increase our community's sustainability. And we've completed, I'm really proud because we have done a very full and thorough planning process for the climate action plans. We started with a carbon baseline measure so that we are doing things in a way that we understand, and that we've had strong community engagement with dedicated staff and organizations speaking directly to Spanish-speaking community as well. And we're currently drafting the plan. So there's going to be a virtual open house slated for July, and that was just updated at the last meeting last Monday. So please, in July, go online, give us your feedback. And one other area that we're more deeply going to be working with this year is also the business community. So keep your eyes out for that. Please send us any feedback that you have. One of the biggest things that we learned from this whole process is that what we do really can make a difference. A lot of people think it's an overwhelming problem, but there's measures, if you read the plan, that show exactly how we can reduce the number of hot days and how we can make a difference for ourselves and for our kids. It's not just for our kids anymore. Yeah.
Terrific. All right. My question for you is, the video did not mention this, but I know it's something many in our community have been looking forward to. Would you care to share a little bit of an update on curbside composting?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. So the council negotiated with Republic Services to provide curbside composting on a trial basis. So we did really great negotiating. I think Councilor President Pratt was a real big advocate for that as well. And curbside composting will be available for single family residences up to quadruplexes, and residential customers will begin in this summer. Multifamily is not yet available, but something is we're trying to problem solve that on a regional level. So it's something that we're aware of and something that we're tracking, that we want to have solutions for. Residents won't be charged. We negotiated a great deal. Council will hear from Republic Services in late fall to consider adoption in 2024, which will then incorporate this service into regular rates. And then food scraps, this is really important. Food scraps will go into the yard debris bin. So mine's green, some other people's are different colors, and be collected weekly. This includes meat and bones, which you can't do from your own composting at home because there's a big commercial composting facility. And the cool thing about this is that it's better for the environment compared to sending organic material to the landfill, where it creates a lot of methane gas, which is one of the biggest carbon problems, greenhouse gas problems that we can have. And it also is essentially sustainable because it's reused and the compost is sold and helps to make our food, not just more food, but better, more nutritious food. So this ties to the city's climate action plan. Oops, that's me. And as a mitigation effort. So there'll be different types of efforts, and there's different categories in the action plan. So anyway, take a look at it. It's been a lot of work that a lot of people put into, and I hope that you guys appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We'll now ask Councilor Gonzalez to come up to the stage, and he's going to answer some questions on community assets.
What's the question?
Welcome, Councilor.
Hi.
Councilor Gonzalez is the newest member of the Tualatin City Council. He was elected in November. This is his very first State of the City. So I'd like you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for having me. It's very nice to see everybody here, and I'm more especially happy that it is so nice out there today, and hopefully it makes everybody kind of happy energy. So, which brings me to, I've been in Tualatin, living in Tualatin for 12 years. I am been married for 26 years. I married my high school sweetheart, which is both here. And I have 2 children, a boy and a girl. And what I do for a profession is I'm an avid landscaper. And so I'm a gardener at heart. And so oftentimes you'll see me getting a little nerdy on plants. And so I'm really excited about the park bond, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Avid chess player, so typically if you want to have a conversation, invite me to a chess game and we can talk.
Great. Well, speaking of the Parks Bond, also on the ballot in November was our $25 million Parks. Can't talk. $25 million Parks Bond. It did pass handily. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I'm very excited about this. I campaign on the park bond and support for it because of what I do for my profession. Landscaping is very important for communities, period. It's important to be outside, enjoying nature, bees, walks. It's all really good for us. So having this park bond pass was just amazing. Part of this park bond, we're going to be rebuilding some of our parks. I think we're going to begin with Stone Ridge first to get that going. That should probably begin not pretty soon. building some additional trails for our communities, playgrounds, a partnership with the school district. So it's just so many positive things for our community to have this park bond. So, on a good news item is that we went ahead and offered up our initial $15 million worth of bonds, and because of the city's AAA1 rating, these bonds sold in record time. We were able to raise $17.1 million out of $15 million in bonds, and it's just amazing our city staff, how wonderful they are with the finances to get that kind of results, and it's going to be great for all of us.
In the video, there are a few pictures of people in orange vests digging a hole. Can you tell us what that has to do with their water system?
Yes. So we have an aging water system, pipes and things like that. So that was a water mainline replacement project that occurred. And currently the city is undertaking a review on our water master plan for the future. There'll be more information to come about that, and we'll be looking for feedback. But it's about that time that we look at our growth, our systems. And so that is a little bit about that. So,
Well, thank you for joining us today.
thank you very much for having me.
Next, I'd like to invite Councilor Reyes up to talk about economic development.
Welcome, Maria.
Thank you. Would you like to say a few words about yourself and your service on council?
Sure. This is my second term, and I'm really excited to be part of the council. I moved here to Tualatin in January 2013, and I served in several committees before running for city councilor. I have, on a personal note, I'm married, have 5 sisters, no brothers. So it's fun at home. And I was born in Honduras, and I grew up in LA.
We hear a lot of interest from our community about developing a community center or a downtown. The video mentioned something about a core opportunity and reinvestment area. What is that?
The plan is a guiding document to strengthen our social, cultural, environmental, and economic vitality central Tualatin. So this is sort of just an idea that we have been presented to, and we want to make sure that, like I said, this is a really long term, so you might not see this happen in a few years. So we're raising right now some funds, some financing, so we can start seeing a little bit more in that part of the downtown area of Tualatin. So that's something that we kind of have a sort of idea, is that multi-unit business at the bottom and living on top of kind of style. So that's what we're talking about in that area. Right now, we're trying to also eliminate a little bit of that blight, or kind of almost the style that it's a little bit older, and kind of modernize that area.
Great. Our business community was hit hard during the pandemic. How has the recovery gone?
Oh yeah, well, we never forget the day that we were told shut everything down, and so close everything, and our restaurants, our businesses in our community really, it was a panicking time for everybody, obviously, but we were resilient. The city started thinking about how we were gonna support our businesses, and we had a grant, very easy, user-friendly grant that our businesses, especially like mom and pops and small businesses, were able to fill out, and we were able to provide funding for them. We also worked actively with the Chamber of Commerce to make sure that we were also reaching out to those individuals, those businesses that are part of the chamber.
Great.
On the other side, as far as business growth, we also have done some, if you notice a little bit in the video, you saw some Bridgeport, that area, there was some redevelopment there. We've had, even though the pandemic did hit hard, there was time for our city to develop PGE operations on 124th. You've seen that, that's another business that's up there, and Lamb campus here in our community as well. And the other thing that I want to announce is that we started the Latino business networking. We do that once a month on Thursdays, the first Thursday of the month. And that was a conversation that we're having for a little while back in the summer, and it started last October. So it's really strong. We meet here. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So speaking of the Tualatin Chamber, come on up. Again, Anneleah. And since we're talking about economic development, can you tell us some of the things that the Chamber is working on or in terms of economic development with the city and on behalf of businesses in the community?
Yes, well, recently,
Yes, speak up.
oh, sorry. I'll just hold my little gift
Yeah,
here.
hold your
right
gift.
Like this. Sorry about that. Recently, we had McAdam Forbes come and talk with us. They're a member of our chamber. And they were concerned about Basalt Creek because they really wanted to develop Basalt Creek, but the codes were prohibitive. And so we negotiated with the city to come to our Business Advocacy Council meetings to see presentations on what they were thinking of, what it was that was holding them back. The city was wonderful about coming and listening. We really got to know a lot of the planning department and engineers, and they have a sense of humor. That was really fun.
Engineers?
Yeah, I know. I was shocked too. And so we had a really good time looking at these presentations and just negotiating and advocating and talking. And so that was a wonderful experience to be able to talk about what was it that the people really needed and were asking for. But then beyond that, the other pieces of economic development, everything we do at Chamber has to do with economic development. We want our businesses to thrive. We want them to be strong. We want to invite more businesses in. We want to make sure we're taking care of the businesses we have. So I was asking a lot of the businesses, like for instance, Bushwhackers is driving me crazy because I want them in our chamber because that's one of my hobbies is swing and ballroom dancing. And they kept telling me, we can't hire enough staff to stay open full time. There's no way we can afford a chamber membership. So we're still working with them. And when I heard that, I started going around to the businesses to find out who else was having this problem. And a lot of them are having trouble recruiting employees, retaining employees, changing their culture to keep employees. And that frightened me. So we started working on workforce development and then found out about tolling. And when that came about, I realized that if they're having trouble now recruiting employees, they're really going to be hurt with the tolling because 80% of our employees commute in on one of those freeways. I'd like to is Susan here? I don't see her.
She ran up.
Susan's the chair of the Business Advocacy Committee, and we are determined to really beef that committee up, watch the legislature, and really advocate for our citizens and our businesses. But I'd like to introduce Daniel Lacey. Daniel has become the editor-in-chief of the Oregon Tolling Updates website that we created in October in order to make sure that you could get educated and informed and any information you wanted on the tolling. So if you subscribe to OregonTollingUpdates.com, every Monday a new version will drop into your mailbox and you'll see the latest articles and a podcast from Daniel updating you on what is going on in the state regarding tolling so that you get the facts. And we really vet that. Daniel researches it and makes sure that the sources are solid. So we're really proud of the work we're doing. We're working very hard for our businesses in Tualatin right now.
Very much appreciated.
And we have our mayor and our superintendent of schools as ex officio board members, so we're always up to date on what the city and the school district are doing. Would you like my gift?
You can put it back in the thing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right, so we're up to our final city council priority. That's crisis preparedness. And Councilor Cyndy Hillier will answer some questions for us. Welcome, Cyndy.
How are you this evening?
Good, how about you?
I'm well. I noticed that the two of you didn't answer the questions about yourselves.
We're shy.
Oh,
But
Ditto.
tell us about you.
yeah.
Speaking of.
Thank you. Well, I'm Cyndy Hillier. I am a 26-year resident of Tualatin. I am in also my first term, third year of my first term serving the residents of Tualatin, and it's been a great pleasure to see the changes and to really engage with community members that I haven't had the opportunity to engage with before on topics I never thought I would know anything about. And so I am really appreciative for the learning opportunity.
All right, terrific. Well, the city has responded to a number of emergencies in the last few years. Can you talk about how we balance that response with ongoing preparedness efforts?
So at the core, when we saw the city goals earlier, really at the core of that is our community members, right? Because our community members are not only who we are and who we represent, but who serve on all these committees that we've heard each of the other councilors talk about, the climate action plan, all the things that probably many of you have served on here. Here we see a group of volunteer individuals in our community who increase the capacity. We've heard already multiple times how incredible that our city staff are. However, it takes we as community members to get engaged, to be able to respond to these sorts of emergencies that we've had over time. We remember that when we had the ice storm, my goodness, these CERT members were out there directing things. They were the first on the ground, moving things. But they don't only do emergency things in our community. If you've been to Viva Tualatin or the Pumpkin Regatta or other things, they get to wear the cool vests and direct traffic. I don't know about you, but I think that's a great job. But we really wouldn't be able to do so many things without these amazing community members who are helping with this. And if you'd like to learn more about that, please go to the city website and just look up CERT, C-E-R-T, and they will be happy to share from ham radio responses to many other things. So I encourage you all to try to get involved in some way or another.
Thank you, Cyndy. The video mentioned a new position in our police department. Could you talk about this position and how a mental health response team works?
I'd love to, and I assume that you're talking about Onyx, the new mental health dog.
Well,
no, we're not talking about
that's
that.
another additional new team member.
We can talk
we all
about
love
Onyx, which is
even
a
though
pretty
he's new.
exciting story. So actually, because this is such an important topic, I did ask our chief of police to write me a couple notes, and so I will read that because I want to make sure that I share about this in the right way. Mental health is such a critical topic to all of us, and positive mental health and how we're coping in so many different things. And we hear in the news, none of us are immune to hearing the negative impacts that especially our police officers are facing when they are out and about responding. So we have now a mental health response team, which is made up of a crisis clinician with a law enforcement officer. Together they respond to mental health or behavioral health type calls. And in the South Cities, the MERT team is shared between Tiger, Tualatin, and Sherwood Police. And I want to let you know that they've responded to over 400 incidents involving individuals experiencing a mental health crisis in the Tiger, Tualatin, Sherwood, King City area. And 86 of those incidents involved members of the Tualatin community who were able to have access to mental health services and diverted from the justice system. And I just cannot say enough good about how this whole process is. And now with the addition of Onyx, the mental health dog, I don't know a better way, but please, again, go on the city website to the police department and learn about Onyx, because I think we're gonna invite him to start coming to council meetings. That's my new vote.
You might get unanimous support for that.
That could be a good thing.
Yep.
So,
Thank you,
you're welcome.
Cyndy.
You're welcome.
All right. So that covers our 7 priorities for tonight. So we'll go ahead and start our closing remarks. I want to remind folks the community survey will be launched here pretty soon. It's going to be a combination of actual physical mailings to your houses or via the web. We do this community survey every couple of years. We've been doing it since 2010, and it allows the city to gauge how well it's delivering services and how well people feel the city council is doing, how the budget status, especially our temperature check to make sure we're doing as well as we think we are. And it gives us a dose of reality every once in a while that we'll see that, you know, over time, something that we were doing very well all of a sudden has fallen off. So we'll pay attention to that, make some adjustments. We'll also see the things that are doing very, very well and look at you know, how we're being so successful with that and emulate that with other programs. So I very much encourage you, when you see it on the city website or you get it in the mail, please do respond. We do look at this every couple of years, like I said, and City Council actually gets the full report. We read it, and we'll have a City Council work session or regular council session to discuss it and review the findings.
Well, a big part of what makes our community great here in Tualatin is the people and their involvement. We have a huge number of people involved in our community. On council, we always want to hear from people. We're always trying to find ways to hear from people. So, and two great ways to do that are just send us an email, council. If you send it to council@tualatin.gov, and you can find it on their website, just type in Tualatin. And if you send it to that email, it goes to the mayor and all of us, so we all get it, and you don't have to send separate letters to each of us. Also, you're welcome to come to council meetings and speak to something that's on the agenda, or we have what's called public comment section, and you can come and talk about anything you'd like, and we'll listen to you. It helps us be informed about what the community wants and to help us make better decisions for our city. And lastly, I just want to say we have a great number of volunteers in our community, and I think they're the kind of life force of our community. So if you have any interest in being a volunteer, that's another thing you find on our website, and we really appreciate everyone.
Great. Well, I want to thank you all for attending tonight. I also want to thank Tualatin Valley TV for helping film this and stream this all over the world for us, so where you can watch it. And we can all watch it in our reruns because we'll be glued to it. I want to thank the Tualatin Chamber of Commerce for helping co-host tonight. Where's Megan? Megan, I want to thank our producer, Megan George. She is other city staff. Betsy worked very hard to put this together tonight. We very much appreciate it. I want to thank our city councilors for participating tonight and doing a terrific job. And top of the list for me is I want to thank our spouses and our partners. They are very, very patient. They are very encouraging. They're very supportive. Donna is phenomenal with me. I know other spouses in putting up with a lot of time taken away from being with our spouses and partners. But we're all trying to do a great job for the community. We think we're doing a good job.
We'll try.
When we don't, you'll let us know. We know when we don't. But very much appreciate the spouse and partner support. We couldn't do without you. All right. So I'm going to bookend this. Remember my fascination with bad dad jokes. So I'm going to end this with this one. A polar bear walks into a bar. The bartender says, "What do you like?" And the polar bear goes back and says, "I'd like a rum and Coke." The bartender says, "Why the big paws?" "I don't know. I was born with them." All right. With that, we'll go ahead and take questions from the audience. We've got some time for Q&A. Betsy, do you have any written cards, questions, or Megan's got them? All right.
Uh-oh.
Why don't you flip through?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, here's a softball one.
Go for it.
Okay. How does the city council determine what the priorities will be? That is what the mayor talked about, where we get together. We have what Sherilyn calls advance, and some of us still call retreat. And we get together and we spend a couple days just really digging in. We have this great consultant that comes in and really makes us think hard about what's important. And then we get in small groups and we bring it back, and I'll decide on which things we're going to make our priorities. So that's how we do that one. And then I'll put you that one. I don't know. I'm just
Okay. How can I receive updates on things discussed at tonight's event? Always check the city's website. Every meeting is recorded that we have, so you can always go to the city's website, watch it over and over and over like, we all do. Or you can also read the minutes of the meeting. All those are also available on the website. So I'd say take advantage of the website. One thing we are going to be doing this next budget year is revamping our website. The city's realized our website is a bit outdated. It's difficult to find things on our website. If you do a search, it can be a hassle. So we're going to fix that next year. It's going to be a major effort to make it more, to find it way easier to find different codes that might be applying to you, or how to do something in the city, permitting, all that stuff. So we're going to make it way easier. So the biggest thing to look at is the website. We also do a digital newsletter that's sent out via email. If you're not getting it, you can go ahead and subscribe on the city's website, and you'll get the e-blast every couple months.
This one I'm going to make an exception to us answering and ask Councilor Brooks to come up here, because the question is, what does being a bee city mean? And she's our expert.
She was on TV promoting Bee City. Yeah. She got an interview with KGW or Coin, one of the two. Welcome back.
Thanks. I'm really proud. That was my first initiative as a city councilor. We have more bees in Oregon than all the species of bees east of the Mississippi River combined. And we know that I will say my background is a clinical social worker, so I was very concerned about children's mental health because of things like Roundup. And when I started researching more into it, I found an organization called Xerces, which helps to protect bees through integrated pest management planning, as well as habitat preservation and encouragement. So we have we have certain things we have to do as a city to maintain our status of being a Bee City USA. Our Parks Director, Ross Hoover, incorporated the Bee City USA. We have to have a committee into the Parks Department committee, and we've been really diligent on showing ways that we're managing pest management. We post anytime that we put anything dangerous out. We have increased habitat for the bees. We do planting events, and we do awareness raising. And a lot of other organizations have jumped in as well. I think it's this weekend, the Grange is doing a Seeds and Bees program, and there's going to be all kinds of information there about bees. So it's something that not just I'm excited about, but our community really has embraced, and I think we all know why it's so important.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll do a quick one that, yeah, because it's kind of related. It's a climate action one, and it says, people travel and spend time across the entire metro area. How will a city-specific climate action plan make a difference? First of all, because we have to do it here, this is our little domain, and so if we do things like, refresh our ordinances, promote LEED certified buildings, I think our climate action plan is going to be great, and it's got a lot of really easy to read, user-friendly things that can help people and businesses and residences and our city take steps to do this. This also makes an example for our surrounding communities, and we're seeing that just since we started working on this, how there weren't that many cities that had this, and now we have a lot of cities moving forward on this, and we have our counties moving forward on this. So everybody together will make a huge difference.
Okay. And in the last minute, right down the road here is the question, what is happening on Herman Road? There's been a lot of construction there lately. So when you leave tonight, if you travel down Herman Road towards Tualatin Road, you notice there's a tremendous amount of constructions on a segment of the road. If you've lived here for a while, there's no sidewalks there. there are gullies there, and there's really nowhere on the side to really ride your bike or walk. Our former public works director used to ride his bike to work, and he had countless stories of him being almost thrown in the ditch over here. So we've been awarded county transportation development tax money. $2 million has been awarded last week, so we can complete this project to finish off Herman Road. You notice how Herman Road's really nice here, and then you have that gap. So we're fixing that so that Herman Road will finally be complete, be a safe route to travel for bike, ped, and car. There's also a little bit of industrial development, manufacturing development around it, so it'll make it easier for those trucks and cars to get in and out.
Great.
And with that, that is the 2023 State of the City. And my final thank you is to our outstanding city manager, Sherilyn Lambos. Oh, Valerie wants to get one more question in?
Oh,
Or you?
yeah, I really do want to get this
Okay.
one in. It's what are some of the ways youth in our community can learn more about and get involved with the city council and government? Well, you could come to a city council meeting, and you can also go on our website, and we have what are called advisory committees, and they talk about a specific thing. Like I was on the Parks Advisory Committee, and you talk about park specific things, and then you come to council on occasion and tell them your recommendations. So it's really important. In a lot of these committees we have youth representatives, and we really like hearing from the youth representatives because a lot of these projects might take 20 years, and we want the people that are going to enjoy them to be part of that decision. So our website's probably the easiest way to find out about it.
We have a very active YAC, a Youth Advisory Committee. That's when you reach high school. And those folks, they report to us every other month, I believe, on their activities. They run the haunted house. They help out with Blender Dash. They do a lot of things in the city to keep us informed. They also help out middle schoolers with that transition from elementary school to middle school. So we very much value youth here in the community. And as Valerie said, most recently, we're having more and more youth representatives. We even have a youth representative on our budget committee. And our budget committee starts meeting next month. All right, so are we done now?
I think so.
We're done, all right, thank you.